Hello everyone and welcome to another video. I decided to do, as you can tell, a little bit of a sketch with me today. I haven't done a sketch with me in a very long time. I kind of wanted to just update you guys on my current sketchbook setup, how I get myself to sketch whenever I don't feel like it or if I really need to. So yeah, let's just get into it. I'm going to show you guys my supplies, where I get my inspiration from, all that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about reference pictures and kind of knowing what to sketch. So my main advice and what I do is buy books that inspire you, like books that are picture books. I have some that I'm going to use today in front of me, but these are really nice because it's stuff that you either like to draw or want to learn how to draw or get better at, whatever, and it kind of helps you get warmed up to dive into your sketchbook. I know for me lately, I've been having a really hard time with my sketchbooks. It's very normal to fluctuate from like loving your sketchbook and being able to sketchbook a ton and then suddenly feeling afraid of your sketchbook. At least that's what happens to me a lot. Something else that's really helpful and that I have tried really hard to make a habit out of is taking your own reference photos when you are out in the world. So I will include some that I've taken here on the screen, but just like in normal places like the grocery store, your walk to your car, your walk to work, around your house, like just common day-to-day things. Try to look at things through the lens of an artist and think about what would be nice to draw. And it makes shit easier when it comes down to sketching in your sketchbook, you know? I personally work in a lot of different sketchbooks at once. I'm not someone that is able to complete a sketchbook without starting any others. So I currently have 4 that I work in, and I have my hobonichi, of course. This one I am pretty behind on, but I really don't mind. Paper's really nice. You get like daily pages, stuff like that. But yeah, I have my hobonichi. I have 2 4x6s. This one is by Art Creations. There's a lot more pages and the paper is like a lot thinner, so it's not like super ideal for painting. You can still do it, and you know, as you can see, it won't be too bad. This is really nice for scribbling, for me at least, for experimenting, because it's very small. It doesn't take up a lot to fill up a page, and it's inexpensive, so I don't feel a lot of pressure to only make nice things in it. And my other 4x6 is my moleskine watercolor sketchbook. This one I try to reserve for nicer stuff. I like to paint in here as well. And this one also has a lot less pages, so this is really quick to finish as well, which is nice and a confidence boost. And then my other main sketchbook is my Nina Cosford sketchbook. This is the biggest one, as you can see. This one, again, is also really good for scribbling, doodling, experimenting for me. I just started this new one, but this is kind of where I go to sketch thumbnails. Like I said, it's where I go to experiment. I like to try out new mediums in here. It's not like super ideal for painting, but you definitely still can do it. It's just, I think if you put a lot of water on it, it'll start to not feel as nice. These are my 4 current sketchbooks. So now let's go over supplies super quickly. These are my favorite colored pencils. It's the Holbein colored pencils, and my Tombow brush markers. I can never live without them. And then I kind of change pens pretty frequently, but these are my most well-loved. I have my little Copic brush marker. I have these like weird gel pens that for some reason do not smudge if you put marker over them, so that's really cool. I have like jelly roll pens. I have these guys. They're like watercolor pens, but I use them more as like a marker sort of thing. These are like my go-to supplies. They will never ever be out of rotation for me. I also do like to have like a little crayon-esque sort of supply, and these are the Caran dache water-soluble crayons. And then I really enjoy these huge posca pens to fill in some nice juicy backgrounds. So now we can kind of discuss my process, and for my first page, I don't know why I decided to go in with colored pencil, but I did. Normally I wouldn't. Normally I like to warm up with just like a plain black pen, because it just kind of helps me get my brain going and I don't have to think about color as much. I just think about form and line, and then I can kind of dive in to more involved stuff like color. So I ended up not liking this sketch, which is pretty typical for when you start a sketchbook session, at least for me. So I just kind of ended up adding a little Posca pen background to make it feel more put together and just like not finishing the sketch and moving on, because I realized that I should not have started with colored pencil. Now this is something that you'll see me do a lot. I like to use my Tombow brush pens and block in general shapes with like a lighter color and then go on top with whatever medium. This is something that I actually picked up through digital drawing. Normally my traditional work will inform my digital work, but this was in reverse this time, and I don't know why I do it. I think I like to block in the main shapes with like a big juicy medium, and then I will go in with like smaller stuff or a dry medium to refine it and make it appear like what it's actually supposed to be. I think it also adds like a nice tone underneath everything, like the color of the yellow peeking through the colored pencil in this is really nice. Yeah, like I said, I don't know where I learned it from. I think I just like, it's something that I do digitally, and I decided to start recreating it traditionally as well, and that's why I really enjoy my Tombow markers. I think at this point, after I finally picked up a little black pen, I started feeling a lot more loose. I am using my little cat book to find references, and yeah, I don't know what it is. And if you go back to my really old sketch with me's, just a nice black pen has always been like my comfort medium. I think it's like the line quality that it creates, and I don't know why I'm able to be so loose with it. I think everyone has like that medium that always just looks the best for them, and for me it's a nice black pen. Now, another thing that I like to do with my tombows is make a little square like this and then draw on top of it. And again, I like to experiment with a lot of different media on top of tombows, but in this case, I just wanted to paint with my tombows. And to do that, I just work from the lightest value to the darkest value. So I'll look at my reference picture and fill in the lighter areas and then start layering, because since they are markers, if you put down a dark color, you cannot go back or correct it, so it's better to just look at like the lightest areas, fill that in, and then darken up as you go. My tombows are also like another thing that help me stay really loose. I also get like a lot of my color inspiration from my tombows, and I think I also want to paint this reference photo that I took. And whenever I'm a little bit intimidated by a painting, I will kind of like make a tiny version of it in a sketchbook, whether that looks like a thumbnail or a more involved sketch like this one. And I think it helps me understand the forms better, it helps me understand the contrast better. So yeah, this was like a tiny practice to what could be a larger painting in the future.
It is. It is.
I'm really inspired by vintage toy design and like 90s and before Japanese anime design as well, but I think it's something that's really hard for me to translate into my style, and I felt kind of discouraged after trying to draw some from my book into my sketchbook, because I think honestly it just really didn't feel like me, which is kind of expected, because if you're drawing someone else's design, then yeah, it might not feel very personal to you. But I don't know, I didn't like how these two girls turned out, but they weren't horrible. I think I need to practice a little bit more that more like cutesy character style. This little sea creatures book is one of my favorites to look at, and this is actually my first time actually drawing from it, and I think I felt a little bit of shame when drawing from it. I don't know. I don't know, I felt like I was like cheating or something. That's literally the whole point of the book, is like how to draw sea creatures. But after like doing a few little guys from this book, I felt really loose, I felt really confident, and I felt like I actually took a lot from what the book had to offer in terms of like drawing sea creatures, because it's something that I've wanted to improve on, because I want to draw other stuff other than just fish, and this was very helpful, and I had a lot of fun doing it. Like, all of them were super quick, and I love the way that like the colored pencil looks so scribbly and sloppy, and that's definitely something that I want to translate digitally as well. I think it'll help create a lot more texture and interest in digital pieces. So yeah, I had a lot of fun looking through this book and drawing some little creatures from it. In my last few pages, I started getting into more like brainstorming for art pieces, and I like to call these like little brain dumps, because once I start my sketching process and I get my little creativity going, I start coming up with some ideas for illustrations or artworks, and it can kind of get a little bit overwhelming in my little brain. So it does reach a point where I have to kind of like brain dump onto pages, even if it's like sketches that aren't really that cute or maybe won't make sense. At least they make sense to me. And it's just like I have to get stuff out and onto paper, because otherwise I'm gonna forget, or it's gonna be like too overwhelming for me, and then I start to feel paralyzed on like what to draw. So yeah, I just picked up like a little pencil and I started doodling. I also add in a lot of words sometimes to pages like this, because if an idea is like really strong and I don't even have like patience to get it drawn onto paper, I will literally just write it down, and sometimes just writing it down allows me to explain it visually a little bit more. I know that's so strange, but it's how my brain is with art. I don't know why. But yeah, I was just like getting down a bunch of stuff, and I feel like I have a bunch of ideas for drawings now, because that's my biggest issue when it comes to digital, especially, is knowing what to draw. And I think because of the digital drawing space, it kind of isn't super conducive for me to come up with stuff. I don't know why. I think it feels like if I'm gonna draw on Procreate, I have to draw something that is gonna become a finished piece instead of just sketching. I don't know why. I just can't sketch digitally. It has to be traditional. That's why like working in sketchbooks is so important for me. That's why I have so many, because I need to be able to, no matter how I'm feeling or what type of mood I'm in, because sketching for me is what informs my digital work, and it is what builds my confidence. It's what helps me develop my ideas and where I want my art to go, all that fun stuff. And that is the end of today's sketchbook session. I am really happy with it actually. I feel like I got a lot done. I tried to show you guys the sort of different techniques that I do. As you guys probably saw, my tombow brush markers are probably my favorite thing ever to sketch with. They're just so versatile and I love to use them as like a underpainting sort of thing, and then use different mediums on top. Yeah, I'm really happy and I feel much more confident in sketchbooking again. Like, if you've been watching my vlogs, you know that like the last 2 months have been a lot with the semester coming to an end and just a lot of stuff going on for me, so sketchbooking has kind of been neglected, and when I fall out of practice of sketchbooking super often, I start to forget how to do it in a way. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope this was helpful. I will have links, or at least a list of all of the supplies I mentioned down below. If you have any questions, any tips, please leave them, and I will see you guys in the next one. Now, before we close out today's video, I wanted to thank the sponsor, which is Squarespace. If you don't know what Squarespace is, it's an all-in-one platform where you can create your very own website. Now, I have always used Squarespace to run my website and my online art business. Their online commerce tool is really great. You can sell just about anything. You can sell physical goods, services, digital goods, etc. They have really flexible payment options. You can take a credit card, debit card, PayPal. I even have Afterpay activated online. If you want to get your website up and going really quickly, they have some very easy to use website templates. I feel like that makes everything super beginner friendly and helps you get your website up and running very quickly. So if you're interested in Squarespace, you go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and you can use my code for 10% off your first purchase.